Hey, Ren. Your cousin is the coolest. We're Lodge Brothers. We both belong to the Loyal Order of Stupids.
Yeah, and now we show you our secret handshake.
On January 1st, 2022, A.A. Milne's 1926 children's book, Winnie the Pooh, entered the public domain in the United States, allowing anyone to adapt and use many of the denizens of the Hundred Acre Woods as they saw fit. One of the earliest things to come of this was Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, a slasher horror movie that reimagined these cuddly characters as vengeful monsters. Many didn't like this. Millions of people have grown up with Winnie the Pooh, either through the books or the Disney adaptations, and seeing these innocent characters from their childhood twisted like this was quite upsetting for some. I even saw a few people argue that maybe the public domain is actually bad because of this movie. For me, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey represents a sort of behavior that tends to happen once limitations are lifted. I can do this thing I wasn't able to do before, so I'll do it to the most extreme level I can. Oh, I can legally use Winnie the Pooh. Here's the most twisted, messed up, opposite to the original book thing I can think to do with it. It's like turning 21, being legally able to drink alcohol, and so you drink a ton of it, having a terrible time, and only then settling into the level of drinking that works for you. And now that we've got it out of our systems, we can focus on making better, more interesting art from Winnie the Pooh. I think the Ren and Stimpy show fits into this pattern of behavior. A lot of the limitations on children's animated television, limitations that Ralph Bakshi, John Kricfalusi, and others experienced during the production of shows like Mighty Mouse and Beanie and Cecil, were lifted for Ren and Stimpy's production. You're going from network television to cable television with fewer regulations. You have a cable network very invested in character-driven animated programming, something that almost nobody else was doing at the time. You have a channel that built its brand around being messy and chaotic, and a messy and chaotic cartoon would fit right in. And so we get the Ren and Stimpy show, the extreme version of itself so that we might get it out of our systems. And I think nothing represents this better than today's episode, Sven Höek, the 4th episode of the Ren and Stimpy show's 2nd season. Directed by John Kay and co-written by John Kay and Bob Camp, this episode originally aired on Nickelodeon on November 7th, 1992. Yes, more than a year after the show premiered, and it was only up to episode 10. Ren is tired of living with an idiot like Stimpy. He's the kind of guy who gets his head kicked in by a horse for fun. And so Ren is excited to learn that his cousin Sven will be visiting. Finally, someone on Ren's intellectual level. However, when Sven arrives, we discover which of the two title characters he more resembles. Ren leaves Stimpy and Sven home alone, and the two get to know each other, sharing their collections of body substances.
Look! It's my magic nose goblins.
Jiminy!
I picked them myself.
Sharing time in Stimpy's litter box.
And I'm a sword swallower. Whoops.
And finding the perfect board game to play.
It's the funnest game in the whole wide world. Don't whiz on the electric fence.
Don't whiz on the electric fence.
When Ren comes home, he finds the place a mess. His records have been coated in bubblegum. His collection of deadly diseases is loose. His fossilized dinosaur droppings have been painted like Easter eggs. Something breaks in Ren, and he slowly explains, step by step, just what he's gonna do to these two idiots.
Oh, what I'm gonna do to you. I'm so angry.
first, I'm gonna tear your lips out. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
Now you might be thinking, oh, what a fun setup. I wonder what the second and third acts are going to be like. But no, that's it. That's the entire cartoon. Oh, you might be thinking, well, that's pretty slight but amusing. What's the second cartoon in this episode? But no, that's it. It's a one cartoon episode. Sven Höek is considered by many Ren and Stimpy fans to be an all-timer, and for the life of me, I couldn't tell you why. It doesn't have the narrative framework of space madness or Stimpy's invention to hang its jokes off of, and instead is just two identical characters pointing at a bunch of boogers and used bandages and going, look, boogers and used bandages. And it's slow. God, is it slow. Evel Knievel couldn't jump the gaps between these lines of dialogue. Part of the reason for this is that the cartoon was extended in small ways from 13 to 16 minutes, a compromise to get it to work as a singular episode. And even then, it had to open with a 2-minute commercial for an inanimate log, and end with a detached segment of Stimpy watching the opening theme of a show about a mud skipper. We don't get to see the opening of the show about a mud skipper. It's literally us watching Stimpy watch television.
Who can crawl like a dog without scraping his knees? Who's got segmented eyes? It's Muddy. Mud Skipper, it's Muddy.
Sven Höek is one of the first cartoons affected by Nickelodeon's firing of John Kay in September of 1992, taking the show off of Spumco and producing it in-house at Games Animation. While the episode was mostly done, additional editing was made to extend it into a half-hour time slot, including a live-action intro with an accordion player, a revamped soundtrack, and a handful of adjusted gags, including cutting lines that Nickelodeon thought were pushing things too far, which necessitated extending the moments of silence even longer. Some of this stuff did get restored in the DVD releases, if you don't mind time codes.
I'm gonna gouge your eyes out. Yeah. That's what I'm gonna do.
The end result is a cartoon that relies solely on the gross excess of its humor, making you sit through the silence to get to the jar of spit and the applied oral sex Sven and Stimpy are having behind closed doors. Humor that looks at you, smiles devilishly, and goes, "Can you believe we're getting away with this?" Essentially, it's early 90s edgelord humor. And in some ways, you have to admire Ren and Stimpy for being the first of its kind, in being the cartoon to get this kind of stuff out of its system so that shows like Rocko's Modern Life and SpongeBob SquarePants can be better versions of this kind of material. At some point, we start to drink responsibly. At some point, someone will make a really great non-Disney Winnie the Pooh movie. But respecting that process doesn't make rewatching that process all that much fun. I'm just left baffled on this one. No doubt I'll get comments on why this episode is an animation masterpiece, and there is something to be said about being 6 years old in 1992 and seeing cartoons play with their boogers, something your mom definitely doesn't want you to do. But I think it's excessive beyond purpose, slow beyond reason, and just not all that fun to watch. How it compares to the rest of the series is for another video. This was just a sample.